Damn, Angel. Damn. Jag the game at the free throw line, man. It's a lot of controversy going on in Chicago. The Sky fans are blaming Tyler Marsh for Angel Reese losing the game at the free throw line and ruining the Chicago Sky's chances of really cutting the lead down to 1 and giving themselves a chance to keep playing and try to get an upset in Phoenix.
Fans wanted to leave early because Angel Reese's most recent Sky game was such a horrible blooper reel. Nevertheless, she managed to leave as the victim rather than the guilty party. The coach was set on fire. In order to lessen the pain, fans exaggerated fictitious viewership figures. Additionally, sabotage-related wild speculations flooded social media. Here's the truth though. When Clark delivers, she doesn't need a reason and Ree is treated differently. This game was the ideal case study if you've ever wondered how spin manages an athlete's reputation, and we're dissecting it play by play.
Reese is at the bottom of the pick and roll shot attempts list, and it kind of makes sense if you really watch. So on her first game back from injury, somebody interviewed her and asked her, what do you think about Uzan joining the team? How's that change things? And she said, hopefully I'll get more pick and roll touches. Unfortunately, that just hasn't happened. And it's more so, in my opinion, that she's just not getting that play called for her. It's not something that the team is running. Pick and rolls for Angel is not happening. So there is a list. My guy Trendy put it out. I know a lot of people, Trendy is controversial, but Trendy does, you look at his stats, when he posts stats, they'll be right. And so he put out a list of the top pick and roll shot attempts for front court players.
Imagine a game that was so shoddy that spectators in the front row could hardly look at the court. They witnessed a series of missed free shots, loose ball giveaways, and obvious exasperation that seemed like it belonged on a blooper reel rather than seeing a professional take charge in a crucial moment. At the most important times, Angel Ree had the ball in her hands, and she offered the audience the opposite each time the Sky needed a spark.
Because it's profound. Angel Reese is the most unskilled basketball player in the history of basketball, in my opinion. She has no skills.
However, for some reason, the online discussion shifted away from her errors as soon as the final buzzer sounded. It quickly turned into a full-fledged cover story. Like a complete rewriting of the performance was required. Nobody wanted to claim that she choked. Nobody was willing to acknowledge that she missed free shots that would have won the game. Rather, the excuses came flooding in. Overnight, Tyler Marsh turned into the antagonist. Rotations, play calling, and replacements are held accountable. Referees also captured strays. There have been allegations that the league didn't want them to win, missed whistles, and anti-Sky bias. What started off as a difficult game turned into a conspiratorial session, like awful basketball, but with Twitter Spaces analyzing a crime scene.
Choke the game away at the free throw line, and the fans are blaming Tyler Marsh. We got all the Sky fans crashing out. They crashing out blaming the coach because Angel Reese missed a free throw at the end of a game. Let's take a look at what's going on. We have Chicago Sky fans blaming Tyler Marsh.
The speed at which it all spread is the most bizarre aspect. The timeline became evident after 1 minute. Free throws were missed by Reese. Reese flipped the ball. The following minute, it seemed as though she had never touched the ball at all. Her coach, who was sitting on the bench, was suddenly the center of attention, acting as though he were the one firing shots. Even notions that the Skies intentionally wished to lose were promoted by viral takes, as though it made more sense to ruin their own season than to acknowledge that a player had difficulties. It was such a crazy reaction. Rather than being a basketball breakdown, it became a soap drama.
Angel Reese has made her triumphant return from a back injury. That's right, a back injury. Yeah, absolutely, that she had suffered at some point. That we don't exactly know at what point she suffered said back injury. Well, it didn't take long for the Chicago Sky as an organization to get back to what it is they do best, which is the diabolical celebration of Angel Reese's double-doubles.
The irony hits you in the face at this point. People pretended that Ree had no influence over the result as the game boiled down to her holding the ball. That safety net is not available to other professional athletes. When an NBA player makes a bad free throw in a crucial moment, their name becomes immediately popular. No blame the playbook or cutaways. However, Sky supporters created a wall of justifications for Ree more quickly than the scoreboard added points against her.
She has no skill. She has energy, she has an attitude, she'll rebound you the basketball. Great. Nothing else.
The severity of the shifts and responsibility made it even more difficult to take seriously. Concerning rotations, one individual yelled, another yelled at the referees, another claimed that the league intentionally sabotages Ree and is invested in Caitlin Clark. By the time it was all over, there were more excuses than turnovers. The court wasn't the only place that collapsed. It was everywhere, and accountability just disappeared. The following move was even more desperate, so even if that sounds awful, the excuse machine didn't stop there, fabricating figures to exaggerate Reese's influence.
Only leading Natasha is wild. So let's look at the list. And I know some people might say, well, Angel was injured for a good portion of the season. So was some people on this list. Who was injured? Fee missed 3 weeks, almost a month time. Miller was gone playing in Eurobasket. Shakira missed a lot of time. Dominique does not play that much. I mean, she's playing more now, but during the beginning of the season, who else is on this list that missed some time? E. Will was on this list. That is shocking. So we get pick and rolls for E. Will, and we get pick and rolls for Camilla, but Angel is, again, second to worst.
If you wish to observe the discrepancy between reality and spin, compare the use of numbers when Clark takes the floor, and after Reese had a difficult night, it hardly sounds like the same sport in the two sets of conversations. Fans of Sky talk about record audiences and high ratings, but when you look at the numbers, half of them are taken from random images or old games, and the other half are exaggerated beyond recognition. Some accounts on Twitter even made comparisons between NFL-level numbers and Instagram highlight views or specialized cable slots, a deceptive strawman that appears significant but breaks down at the first sign of fact-checking. Online, what is referred to as proof is typically just narrative presented as facts.
The average Angel Reese game is 10,100, 10,200 they come to watch her. You know what the average attendance is when Caitlin Clark plays home or the road?
What?
15,300. Wow. Okay? 15,300.
Fake receipts are not necessary for Clark. You can actually see the outcomes she produces. To meet Clark-driven demand, opponents have relocated games to bigger structures or renovated sites, a recurring pattern that was evident in her early WNBA appearances. Due of the significantly larger crowds, arenas that can typically accommodate a few thousand people suddenly add more space. Additionally, you don't need fan accounts to spread the word when she plays games that are broadcast nationally. Games starring Clark have seen considerable increases in viewing, according to ESPN and other broadcast partners. Clear, independent data that can be independently verified. That stands in stark contrast to the stolen charts and Instagram screenshots that have been circulated in support of Ree.
They have access to metrics that we don't have. If I'm noticing declining interest, you know they see it. Last month, the Linkers and Bravado played on ABC. Ratings were never released. Yet somehow, ABC managed to release ratings for the game the following day between the Wankers and the Felines, Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark, even though I don't think Caitlin Clark played.
This discrepancy is evident each time someone makes a record-rating claim. The Sky's lack of market appeal isn't the only factor. It's how supporters attempt to hide it. Posts boasting that a highlight received 1 million views will appear, as though that equates to demand across the country. Then you contrast it with Clark packing larger arenas, attracting sellout crowds in several places, and genuinely changing the way teams plan games. One side is using imprints to support its position. Live attendance is being reshaped on the opposite side. The two categories are not the same. While Reese's draw hasn't produced the same steady changes in the market, Clark's games have sold out or forced teams to increase the number of seats available. She does not, however, have no influence. She is well known and receives a lot of attention. However, claiming that she's driving the market in the same way as Clark doesn't match the data on ticket costs, venues, and attendance. Additionally, the margin widens each time supporters act otherwise.
After Caitlin Clark's been hurt for 2 weeks. All right, so let's go through this. Caitlin Clark absence is having an immediate impact beyond the court. According to data shared by Yahoo Sports via TickPick, prices for two specific Indiana Fever away games against the Chicago Sky and the Washington Mystics dropped sharply after Clark was sidelined.
Therefore, the numbers discussion is about people's beliefs rather than just statistics. Fake receipts don't alter the atmosphere at arenas or on TV programs, but they do keep discussions going on social media. And there's when the larger issue begins to emerge, because it gets easier to justify anything that occurs on the court when more fans band around to support Ree. And that is the actual start of the cycle.
So, man, let's have a conversation, bro. Man, I want to say, what the hell is going on with the Chicago Sky? Something is off to me. I'm watching them from the jump. This team don't seem to be there mentally. Looks like players are mentally checked out.
The distinction between Ree and Clark is the most noticeable when discussing reputations in this league. Ree is now associated with what seems like a never-ending cycle of justifications. Even though Clark is promoted as the WNBA star, the parallel between the league's face and the face of excuses isn't going away.
Before the injury, the lowest ticket available for Fever's matchup in Chicago was $86. For the game in Washington, fans needed at least $41 to get in. After the news of Clark's absence, those get-in prices fell to $25 from $86 and $14 from $41.
The same pattern appears each time Reese has difficulties. The defense team on social media steps in before the highlights have even finished uploading because she misses last-minute shots or loses her composure in a pinch. One group claims that poor rotations are the coach's fault. Another claims she wasn't given a fair whistle by the referees. Some go so far as to accuse the league of being biased. The game itself is almost an afterthought. Although that cycle would appear to be support, what actually occurs is that narratives that attempt to explain everything away take the place of her play.
Bless you. Blocked 1.95 times per game, second in the league in 9 less games. 114 turnovers to 108 assists. Third with 5 less games played than second and 8 than the first. Most turnovers per game for an active player, 3.9. Wait a minute. Didn't all you Angel Reese supporters try to get on Caitlin Clark over turnovers? Yikes. The team has a 9-30 record, a 4-loss streak. That seems pretty stoppable.
Furthermore, defenses aren't only inflated by arbitrary timescales. Ree herself has brought out issues like not receiving enough touches during pick-and-roll scenarios in some sets. She cited the deficiency of reps in such actions as part of the problem after one game. Reese didn't rate highly on a list of front-court pick-and-roll shot attempt rankings that Trendy put up and shared online. Even though it's a fan-shared statistic rather than a league-mandated one, it stoked discussion. Some supporters saw her remarks as a diversion, suggesting that she was evading accountability for her errors. Others contended that it was a genuine system malfunction, a fault with the way the Sky's late-game offense was implemented. In any case, the lesson is that her remarks stimulate just as much debate about reasons as they do about remedies.
I don't know if I ever seen this before. It just seemed like, even though Tana Moore's the coach, it's like they just out there playing. And it don't even matter what I can tell they probably don't even listen. They don't care what he says. They don't. They just go on with the flow. That's what it seems like. Like players just not even locked in on a game plan or a specific role or anything. Just players just playing. How many times I'm gonna see Angel Camilla beats everybody down the floor and they don't get the ball.
Put that next to Clark now. She too had difficult times. Poor shooting nights, turnovers, and missed threes. She is seen on the floor, however, controlling traffic, supporting teammates, and then completing games with real shots rather than recounting them after the fact. Fans and broadcasters have repeatedly brought this up. Arena sellouts, which support her late game performance, contribute to her reputation. Clark doesn't have to convince anyone that she's a jerk. The proof is present by the time the buzzer sounds.
Y'all be getting sensitive. Y'all be getting super sensitive. Angel Reese, you did your thing versus the New York Liberty. Y'all got a win, but we have to keep it real. For the second straight season, Angel Reese has led the Chicago Sky to elimination with a bunch of basketball games left.
The disparity continues to expand as a result. The problem is not Reese's talent. She is large. On the board, she fights. In the paint, she is able to scrape with anyone. However, the raw game is not what people perceive when all the protection is in place. It's the air of justifications. Fingers point everywhere else once Chicago falls. Bad whistles, league bias, and coach changes cause the painful reality that she had the ball in pivotal moments to fade into the background. And that is where the damage to one's reputation occurs. The longer it goes on, the more Reese runs the risk of being evaluated for the comfort around her play, rather than her positive traits. Conversely, Clark is already established as a player who completes games and advances the league. This difference explains why one player is portrayed as the spokesperson for excuses, while the other takes center stage in the league. Additionally, there is no room for defensive explanations when the spotlight is that intense, just the scoreboard in the actual game.